basic routes that take us to sign in and notes seem to work and work the way we want them to. We even have it so that there is a route that matches /notes/some ID. And if we look at our note form component, then we see match params ID is there. But we're not populating the note in the form based on that. So let's do that. Let's have a look. At noteform.js. So as soon as we visit /notes, it renders the form, right? If the URL changes so that there's an ID in it, what's going to change as far as the form is concerned? Well, let's start the other way around. What needs to change in note list? Or maybe not list, but note. So we have our list, which loops over all the notes and renders a note component for each one, right? Then in the note component, we have this A, this anchor, and on click, we set the current note ID. But now, what should happen if you click on one? Yeah, the URL should change, right? How do we do that? There's a component in React Router that seems appropriate here. What's that? So you can use history and just push onto that. Or what'd you do when you just like clicked GitHub on API Party? Did you have an on click on that? In a non-React thing, what do you put if you want to change the URL? It's a link, right? It's just a link. But React Router gives us some special links, right? Remember that? Link and NavLink? Which one should we use? What's the difference? What does NavLink do that Link doesn't? Remember? It adds an active class to the one that you're currently on. We could do that. Import NavLink from React Router DOM. And these could just be NavLinks. NavLink to what? What are we going to link to? /notes/ the ID of the current note, right? So how do we put that there? Well, that's if we're defining a route, we use the colon, right? So the to thing expects a string, right? Yeah, use backticks. So we can put curly braces here instead of just quotes, and then put backtick /notes slash dollar curly brace. We have the note here, right? Note.id. Seem reasonable? Mm-hmm. Because we're actually including the value of a variable. Not inside. I'm sorry, not inside there. That's too many backticks. Yeah. Yeah. Typo. So I got rid of the onClick. Do we need it back? Why do we have set current node ID in the first place? Because noteform has to get it from somewhere, right? But noteform can get it out of the param now. So I don't think we need it. I'm going to get rid of handle click, which means I don't need this set current ID prop. All I need is to make these NavLinks. Once again, if we'd been using routes from the beginning, this would actually be an easier way to do it. So if we don't need that prop there anymore in the list, we don't need to pass it down. We don't need set current node ID anymore. And so we don't need set current node ID as a prop passed into note list. And so in main, when we render note list, we don't need to pass down set current note ID. Which means up in app, when we render main, we can take set current node ID out of the actions. So that's a whole prop we wouldn't have had to have at all. I think we made things explode at some point. Adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag inside NavLink here. Note. Oh, closing A instead of a closing NavLink. Right. Open, yeah. And I had a self-closing up there. Right. This actually has an opening and closing tag. Okay, that's better. Does it work? If we click on one of these, hey, look at that. Woot, woot, woot. Yeah. Excellent. Add NavLinks to notes in the list. One thing at a time. Yeah, we want that note then to show up here, but that's a separate step. All we were worrying about for now was clicking these, making the URL update. Questions about what we just did with NavLink? Creating that class with the NavLink. Oh, NavLink versus link. Right. So if we look at our actual HTML here, what we end up with is a href, right? If I click on this one, it adds class active to that one. So we could style it differently, which it seems like we probably should. We haven't yet, but it seems like we should. So if I click on the other one, then this no longer has class active. The other one does. Right? Switch back. Class active goes to the first one.
Oh, so it knows.
Yeah, it knows which one you're on. Yeah. So if you have a nav link that points to the current URL, nav link will always add class active. So it's a very common use case. We don't have to do it manually. Cool.